Alright, I wanted to make this video for a while now. I wanted to express my feelings on this for a while now, but stuff kept coming up and I kept getting too busy. And now the time has finally come to give my overall opinion on how I am perceiving all of the news from what is essentially going to be the next live action Resident Evil film. This film is being done by Zach Cregger, who worked on Barbarian, and I have someone close to me who said they really enjoyed that movie quite a bit. And I haven't seen Barbarian. I guess I'll watch it sometime tomorrow, and if the movie is good, you know, I will give my first impressions and thoughts on it and do a review. Then there's Weapons. Weapons has been critically acclaimed so far. It has like a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes as we speak. Another Zach Cregger banger. This guy is working his way up the ladder for horror movies in general and having a pedigree of quality behind it. The main thing I want to talk about is some of the controversy with some of the things that he has said and how the Resident Evil community is perceiving those comments and what I particularly think about everything involving another live action Resident Evil movie and this controversy and drama. First, he said that no matter what he will do, he knows there are people that will not like this film. I'm gonna read the full quote before I continue my spiel here, but it says Zach Cregger's Resident Evil reboot, not a faithful adaptation of the games. He said, and I quote, that I'm a gigantic Resident Evil game fan. I've played them all. I don't know how many times I've just looped Resident Evil 4 over and over again. Everyone seems to really have that entry starting point with Resident Evil 4. I just find it quite funny, but I digress. I just love it. I'm definitely not trying to be completely obedient to the lore of the games, Cregger said. I'm trying to tell a story that just feels authentic to the experience you get when you play the games. I don't think I'm breaking any major rules, but I also recognize that no matter what I do, people are going to come for me online. And I agree with the interjection of the person who made the article, saying it's a fair point. The Resident Evil fanbase is notoriously vocal about fidelity to the source material, but rather than play it safe, Cregger is pushing for something more personal and atmospheric. He says, so all I want to do is just make a really good movie and tell a story that's compelling. I know I'm gonna be happy with the movie, and hopefully other people will too, because it's not 100% inherently like the games. And further confirmation, I think yesterday got confirmed that he will not be using characters from the games like Leon, Claire, Jill, Chris, Wesker. None of those characters will be utilized in Zach Cregger's Resident Evil. Is going to be a completely original story set in the universe of Resident Evil, maybe using the zombies, T-Virus, Umbrella Corporation, but none of your favorite classic characters will be utilized in this movie. I'm gonna start with the first quote where he said, not everyone is probably going to like this movie because it's not 100% akin to using characters from the game and stuff like that. I have no problem with that whatsoever, and I'm going to explain why he's kind of correct. There are people out there, and look, Resident Evil purists, I know you're not going to like this video, stans. The people who roleplay Leon, Jill, and Chris like almost every day, I know those brand accounts that do that, you're not going to like this video, but let me explain. The behavior of these people, where if you don't use a legacy character, and there are folks out there that are completely beholden to Leon, Claire, Jill, other characters like that, where if they don't see them, they will automatically call something shit, right? We've seen people do that with Resident Evil 7. Just because it didn't star their favorite character, and just because they don't like Ethan, they will say, oh, what is this bullshit, wasted potential, things of that nature. These people that are very, very beholden to specific characters, they do exist, and when something is new, they will reject it. We just have people like that in the Resident Evil community, and honestly, you can feel conflicted all that you want, but personally, to me, I feel like if Zach Cregger delivers on making these original characters people that you care about, people that make sense in the world of Resident Evil, because I mean, let's go back to a time where they introduced Resident Evil Outbreak, right? And let's pretend like no other games came after. It was just the ones before, where we had 2 games with Jill and stuff like that. But we focused on Outbreak, which was an entirely new cast of characters. They weren't legacy characters, and people fucking liked them. It is no different here. I don't need Leon to be jingled in front of me like keys in order for me to say an original character is good or bad. If that original character has good writing, good characterization, and I relate to them, then I'm gonna fucking say, hey, but Leon didn't really need to be in this movie. His story is told in the games, so why would I need Zach Cregger to adhere to that right? Again, I think there are people out there who will religiously say, no Leon, no Claire, no Chris, no Jill, no money. And Resident Evil transcends what some of these characters are, right? It's like, yes, they are part of the equation. They do sell some of the games. They are larger than life, but I do feel when they introduce a new character, there is so much more to Resident Evil. It's putting that character in a harrowing situation and making it believable and making it scary and making it tense. And there are people that just don't have those conversations because their brain is indoctrinated on only the legacy people, and that's it. And I don't like those arguments. I know the legacy characters, they sell the games, they will sell some of the movies at times, but they are always going to be icons and remembered, and they are not needed for every singular isolated incident. All right, if this movie is great with what they're doing with an OC, then I'm all for it, honestly. And I said this before, you can have those characters be set up in a sequel, and I think doing legacy characters in general, if you fuck them up, is going to be a lot more of a frustrating experience as opposed to making someone original, because this is an established character. When Paul Anderson fucked up the legacy characters so much, that made it more frustrating. That made those movies more frustrating in hindsight, because it's like, the main reason why I don't like Resident Evil Apocalypse is because they took Jill's story and they gave it to somebody else. They gave it to Alice, and you do not know how annoying and frustrating and silly that was as someone who was a fan of that character, seeing her completely sidelined for someone else we don't even fucking know. With this original story and them not using the legacy characters, at least I can't get too pissed because it's not their story. You see what I mean? I have no problem with this whatsoever. I do think it is fine to hold reservations, be like, okay, right now, currently as it stands, they have not done a high bar of quality for the Resident Evil live action movies. We do still have the first one, which universally most people say is decent, and that's about it. Everything goes downhill into shit mountain from there. I know there's people that will say, oh, I liked the first one. I liked Apocalypse. I liked Extinction, and then it went downhill. I'm gonna be honest, I did not like Apocalypse whatsoever, and I did not like Extinction as an RE fan. It had its moments, sure. It probably isn't worse than Final Chapter, where, God, I can't even begin to explain the jump cuts in that movie, which was absolutely god awful and abysmal. But I only will stop at the first film because I think the first film was the most decent and watchable one, and that's it for me. So the bar is not really that high for live action movies. At most, you just need to be good, which they haven't really fulfilled since the first film in 2002, I believe. All right, so that's one out of the way. The other thing is that people are saying Zach Cregger insulted the fans and all this other stuff. I'm gonna be brutally honest here. I believe people throw that fucking line of "you insulted the fans" way too much. Like, fans are very fucking picky in fandoms, right? I'm a Silent Hill fan. Silent Hill people are the most pedantic motherfuckers I think I ever seen in my life, and that's really saying something. They are the most nitpicky individuals. They will call something that is good bad. It just goes round and round. Fandoms are like that. Fandoms, depending on the high volume of people and the people within the fandom, they're going to be picky. There's going to be purists. There's going to be gatekeepers. What did the man say that was wrong? There's already people on Twitter saying this movie is going to be shit behind Claire Stan accounts, and they haven't watched a shred of the movie at all. And that's another thing too. I'm going to move to my fourth point. There are people that just don't give the benefit of the doubt no more. And that's probably due to being burned previous times. This is a previous film series that just had a reboot that was not really that great with Welcome to Raccoon City. I can understand skepticism there of those previous people, but then again, you could see the writing on the wall with Welcome to Raccoon City, because they just simply decided, we're gonna shove Resident Evil 1 and 2 into a movie, and the pacing is not going to be immaculate whatsoever. And everyone kept having that skepticism all the way until launch. We saw the movie and it's like, yep, we were right the entire time. You can call something from a mile away, but I believe this is a bit harder. And the last thing is, and I love this channel, and this is no shade to them whatsoever, all right? I love Let's Talk Resident Evil, right? And I like Anthony, I like John. I think the channel is awesome. What you guys do is amazing for the community. Keep up the good work. But there's something that Anthony said that I thoroughly disagree with, and that was the thing of, he was saying that, I could like a movie similar, like Johan Roberts or whatever, the guy who did Welcome to Raccoon City. I could like a previous work of his and still hate Resident Evil, which is fair. You know, I can still hate Zach Cregger's Resident Evil, which is fair. So the quality going into it, that Zach Cregger has made 2 great movies, and he's going to make one bad Resident Evil movie, or is going to be under such a critical lens that he just believes everything he's saying is not good news. I feel like that's way too preemptive at this point, right? It's a no-brainer. Anthony, like I said, I enjoy your content. I enjoy what you do. I'm not hating on you or anything, but I feel like some of those comments are way too preemptive, because the fact of the matter is, and you know this, we haven't seen shit from the movie. So the creator could be saying something that you don't like, but that could all change when we unveil and see more of what's going on behind the hood, because we have nothing really to go on whatsoever. And that's why I say some people out there really don't hold the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't, and he's saying, oh, he should watch what he says because people are going to misinterpret that. I don't think anything was misinterpreted whatsoever. I do think there is pedantic motherfuckers in the Resident Evil community, and if you are someone who is delusional to it, you are blind to what is going on when certain folks talk about RE. And I understand that it is a means to be protective, or it is a means of saying we haven't had a good live action movie, so I'm not really expecting this one to be good, but that's jumping the gun. Because listen, look, Fantastic Four, I put this in my horror Discord because it was the best example. The bar for Fantastic Four wasn't really that high, and you could simply say a lot of the previous movies, except for the 2005 one, and Resident Evil is in that same situation, were shit. But we didn't have a great Fantastic Four movie. We didn't have an excellent Fantastic Four movie. We didn't have one that broke that quality bar until now. So anything can happen, right? The mountain is shit mountain, and then oh my god, a good Resident Evil movie. That has never happened before. So I do think that is obtainable and that is possible, and you don't need the original characters to do so. And I do think the director's merits and quality, they kick the fuck out of Johann Roberts' quality all day long, because again, when has Johann Roberts got a 90 on a film that's been critically acclaimed? You can have that momentum going into the next film, and hell, you could even say that for Paul W.S. Anderson. This man was on fire with Event Horizon, Mortal Kombat, the first one, and then the first Resident Evil. It's like those are 3 straight winners before he actually stopped giving a shit. That's why Resident Evil went down the toilet. I believe when the creator really doesn't give a shit, and of course Cregger could make worse statements, right? But I don't believe that's what this is. I don't think he's shitting on fandom. I just think he's saying, I like the games and I want to do something different, and it's different from saying, oh, I want to do something different and keep it within the boundaries of the lore, versus saying that I'm gonna dump out what makes the lore completely because I know better than everyone else. If he said something like that, that would be a recipe for a disaster. But wanting to do something original, that's fine. That should be fine. Nakanishi does original things all the time, and he directed Resident Evil 7, and he's doing Resident Evil 9, and so far, for what it is for Requiem, going back and plucking out relative to an Outbreak character and doing her story, that's interesting. And that's a completely new character that's being introduced with Grace Ashcroft. I just want to tie this video up with saying that, look, there's nothing wrong when Resident Evil tries something different or new, because if they never did that in the first place, I don't think Resident Evil will be on the map anymore. And we have to understand that originality and doing bold new things and experiments and doing things with legacy characters and whatnot, Resident Evil has done a multitude of things. Not all of them has worked, but for the most part, for what they got right, that progressed the series forward to stay relevant for 30 fucking years. I think we need to get to a point where we have to question, why do so many old school Resident Evil fans, why do they hate original things? It's like, I love the classic stuff, I love the classic characters, but why do we hate originality? Because if it wasn't for some originality, if it wasn't for them bringing Resident Evil back to basics and having some originality to it with RE7, I don't think the franchise would be in the same position as it is now. At first, people were thinking like, Umbrella Corps, the series is over, the franchise is dead, it's over, it's done. And then they came back with a fucking juggernaut banger of a game, and it's just like, okay, that had an original character in it. He went for 2 straight games. Ethan Winters was fantastic as a character in RE Village. What is the problem? All right. And yes, I do think there needs to be legacy characters in Requiem, but Requiem's a whole different thing. They're going back to Raccoon City after 30 fucking years. That's a whole different subject matter versus I'm going to hate every original thing that I see, and I'm not going to accept that any of the Resident Evil live action attempts will be good. Again, it depends on the director, the creative, and them adhering to the source material. And I believe that so far everything that Cregger said has been, you know, diligent information, just basic normal information, nothing really offensive or disrespectful. So I don't know where the fan base is getting that from. Like, does anyone else feel the same way? Like, he's not being disrespectful, he does care about the games, but he also doesn't want to do the same textbook thing that we have seen constantly with Leon adapted. We've seen that already in films with Claire, all that other stuff. You could do that in sequels if this test of a new character and new story and whatnot is good. Like, if it's good, I'm gonna want to see those characters more in sequels, as opposed to being like, well, if the possibility is as bad, it's gonna be like, well, at least they didn't fuck up my favorite character, but this original character's fucked up. You know, you can think of it in 9 different ways, but let's wait until a trailer comes out. Simple as that. That's a simple ask. I think that's a very fair assessment to say, versus let's jump the gun on some bullshit and let's say, oh well, he's insulting the fans, or people can misinterpret that night. People misinterpret things every fucking day, every single day. You know how many times people misinterpret that message of fucking Nakanishi saying Leon's not good for a horror game? You know he's lying through his teeth, right? He's teasing you. Nuance does not exist anymore. Like, people cannot make subtle hints that yes, a character is going to show up in a game. People take every statement as absolutes. It's a certainty. They hate this person, they hate this character, and it's like, guys, chill out. All right, it's gonna be fine at the end of the day. They're not spitting on us. Believe me, developers could say way more blatant and way worse things than they have in the past, just like EA told us with Battlefield 5, hey, if you don't like it, don't buy it. That's a lot more of insulting the consumer. That's a lot more of, you know, we're gonna be, you know, these giant assholes, and if you don't like what we do, don't buy it. And then people don't buy it and they're so surprised when people don't. That's more of a statement you can have a tiff over, versus just someone wanting to be original and creative. We need creativity, especially in movies, especially in Resident Evil live action film, because we don't have that at all right now. Okay, so I'm just getting on my soapbox, and yes, I am defending Zach Cregger, and yes, I'm looking forward to his Resident Evil project, because I believe for a surefire chance of getting a director that's kind of hot right now, that understands the creative elements of horror, this might be the first super great Resident Evil film. And if it's not great, I'm gonna rant about it on my channel just like everyone else. I'm gonna say how I did not like this movie, etc. But I'm gonna see Weapons pretty soon, and I'm gonna see Barbarian pretty soon, and I do think the quality standard of someone, their creativity, their work, I believe that does matter. That does matter. I said this before, I'm gonna say it again, because I brought these arguments up in my own horror Discord. If quality didn't matter, then you think about it. You put 2 names together, right? What would you prefer? Zach Cregger's Resident Evil or Uwe Boll's Resident Evil? Exactly. Right? Exactly, dude. You're gonna be like, Uwe Boll, ew, like, considering his resume, his track record, his quality. So it's like, what would you personally prefer? I know what I wouldn't prefer, and that's like the latter over the former. So I want to see this guy work. You know, again, I still don't really like Screen Gems, and I don't really like how Sony has handled Resident Evil, but maybe they're actually giving a shit, because they gave this guy like what, 10-15 million dollars to make this movie creative. That's fucking insane. That this director has an insane budget, which means I guess if I were to guesstimate here, because it's just guesstimation, they're going to let him have creative, because they just gave him a large sum of money to make this movie. So I don't know, as long as there's no studio interference, and I don't think there will be, considering this man's paycheck for this one singular film, and to get it right, and to know they've gotten it wrong for years and years and years, and they had a big flop with Welcome to Raccoon City. I don't think they're gonna get too involved in the kitchen, and that's just me. But we will see. When the trailer comes out, I'll be talking about it. I just think people need to wait. People need to chill, okay? You're not being insulted. Your intelligence is not being stomped on. That's just what I wanted to come in and illustrate, because folks are going crazy. Some fans are sensitive. Some fans will get upset at every little fucking thing, and I think some people need to relax, and you'll live longer by doing so. And I just wanted to put this PS at the end of the discussion, because I know someone's going to say it once again. Someone will probably say that I said this movie is going to be great when I haven't seen a lick of footage either. And again, what I'm really saying is this is probably the best shot that we have, where Sony gave this guy like fucking 14-15 million to do his thing and have him cook. That means studio interference might be mitigated. There is a good chance that he super understands horror. He has like 2 hit horror movies. So again, he has the momentum, the pedigree going into Resident Evil, which is good, positive, high scores and shit like that. If the creative team is solid and that sticks, and he understands the assignment, then yes, this could be one of the better movies if it is done well, or decent. I think this movie is probably going to be good to decent at best. I have a hard time believing that it's going to be a flaming garbage dumpster fire piece of shit, because again, Johan Roberts, again, you get like the Strangers franchise, you can say he made the best one and all that other shit, but I don't think he is on the same pedigree as Cregger, where he made like 2 great movies in a row going into this one. And we all knew the signs that Welcome to Raccoon City was going to be a failure when they announced the format of the film ahead of time, versus these statements where it's like, yeah, some fans probably won't dig this one, because you know, they're not gonna like the direction that I go into with doing something original that's divorced from the characters of the game. And again, you can have RE without legacy characters. We've seen that before. I just labeled 2 examples where Ethan is mostly solo dolo whole game in RE7, and Chris, he makes a little show up at the end, but it's like for 5 seconds. And then Outbreak has none of the classic characters whatsoever that are the heroes, at least. I mean, Nikolai does show up, so I remember that. I do think his crew does show up somewhere or whatever. But I don't remember. It's been a long time. Maybe I'm thinking of fucking Operation Raccoon City. I might be thinking more of that. I think they probably did have a mission in Outbreak too, where it was going to be about Nikolai's crew and shit, and it got cut down because Resident Evil Online and Outbreak changed. I remember that as well. But yeah, that might be my brain talking, but still, there is no classic heroes in Outbreak. All new people, and we like those characters, right? So I just wanted to get on my soapbox real quick and say, let's just wait and see before jumping to conclusions. And quality does matter. Fuck, I will rather take a director that has 2 hits than, you know, someone mostly unknown. They have a semi-like movie and then they announce a bad format, or they have like a fucking flop. They have a ton of flops in the chair. I would say, yeah, that movie's DOA if that's the case. If they don't understand how to get what makes Resident Evil work right in format, in structure, in lore, and also if they don't have quality behind it with the director, then yeah, it's gonna flop. You can see that from a mile away. This one's a bit harder to tell, and I just wish people were a little bit more honest about that. You know, where it's like, okay, sure, I'll wait. And to be fair to Anthony, he did say he would wait, but I'm just talking about the stands and whatnot. That in that regard, I'm talking about the stands that will say, oh, no Leon, this shit 0 out of 10. It's like, come on, that's immature. Anyway, signing out for real this time. I just wanted to put some extra thoughts, and again, hopefully things go out really well for the future of RE movies. We need a CGI movie as well. We need another one. It's kind of shocking not to see another one, but that's just me. I digress. That's just my mind talking. Anyway, I believe the true interpretation of this comment is what this guy Superhero Enjoyer said. I agree with this, where someone was like, oh, you're making a movie about a video game, but you're not using any of the main characters or story from the game. What he means is that he doesn't just want to make Resident Evil 2 but in film form, but rather wants to give Resident Evil fans an experience they haven't seen before. That's better. That's what he's trying to say, and I don't know why it came to so many misinterpretations. And I want to also use Arclay as an example, but I'm not watching a fucking 1 minute and 22-second ad, so I'm just gonna fire up fuck damn it, I'm just gonna fire this up on Firefox, but give me a second, I have to sort of go find it. Oh, ad block, you are my best friend. Yeah, Arclay, the show they were gonna make, or the concept short film that unfortunately did not get green lighted into the light of day. But this film was all an original story about a detective investigating, you know, murders around Arclay Mountains. And that was cool, and most people loved this concept. Looking in the comment section, I don't know how much I want to play it because I don't know how much of this is gonna get copyrighted, so I'm just gonna have like these still images. But look at this, it looks amazing. Especially the end. The money shot is this messed up zombie right here. Look at that, that's incredible, right? This would have been cool, and this was an original story. And let's look at the comments. Back here after watching the failure of the Netflix show and the movie they put out. The pain is real. We are living in the cursed timeline wherein Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City gets the green light and Arclay never sees the light of day. I love how Marvin Branagh makes a cameo. This is how Resident Evil should be going forward. Side stories to allude to the main storyline, but separate storylines entirely. This is actually worthy of being a Resident Evil movie, unlike all the Paul Anderson films, which once again, they did draw the characters from the games and the quality just wasn't there. This looks far more interesting than the actual Resident Evil movies. So people do want an original concept done well, creepy and suspenseful, and I believe that shows there's a lot more to the Resident Evil IP with having this coming to fruition versus just Leon showing up and kicking everything in the face. But yeah, that's ultimately what I think. Just have an original concept, make it good. He said he wants to follow the thematics of the game lore wise, so again, that's a good thing as well. It remains to be seen how this is going to go, but I have high hopes. I have high hopes more than most, and if people are skeptical, I do think that's fine, but automatically jumping the gun, saying his shit, saying he's insulting fans or whatever, I just don't agree. I just don't agree. I don't see it. Like, we've been told far worse as fans. We've been given far worse as fans with Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. So, anyway, I'm wrapping up here. That is all I have to say, really. Creativity will thrive if it's good, and I think that's just what I want as a fan. I just want a really good original concept, something I've never seen before in a Resident Evil movie, done really well, akin to something like Arclay, akin to something like this, where they could harken back, they could do things that's never been done before, but it has to be compelling, it has to be gripping, it has to be captivating. And as from what I'm seeing, Cregger has not struck out since. So We'll definitely see how it goes. I will be checking that out in theaters when it comes out. When does that fucking movie come out? When does the new Resident Evil movie come out? I'm gonna find out right now. Damn, okay, September the 18th, 2026. So that's a decent, I guess that's a decent enough time to film to get things going. I wonder, do they have a script already being done? It's also being co-produced by PlayStation Productions. That's interesting. I didn't know that, but yeah, Sony Pictures, but I thought they were different entities. So PlayStation Productions has a little bit of a hand in it as well. That's probably going in with some funding of the 30th anniversary that's going on as well. Maybe we'll see some interesting things come out from there. You know, PlayStation had Resident Evil marketing rights for a while now, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I am signing out for real, people. Again, let me know what you think of this video in the comment section. How do you feel about Zach Cregger? Have you watched Weapons? And have you watched Barbarian? And if so, give me non-spoilers. What's the 411? Do you believe that he is compatible with the series, given the films that he has made, the scenes that he has made, the characters he has created? Do you think he's a perfect match if you've seen his movies, or no? I want to hear from those people in particular that actually watched those films. No spoilers, please, but if you watch Weapons and Barbarian, what kind of filmmaker is Zach Cregger? How does he do movies? Because to me, from the outset, it seems like he does really good, phenomenal stuff that casual people and hardcore horror fans seem to really be enjoying so far. So let me know what you think of him in the comment section below, and what do you think is going to occur for this movie? I just believe that this is probably going to be a cut above the ones we've gotten so far, because they have a visionary on board. And for the source material, I guess we'll see, but I do not expect, he just said it too, no Leon, no Claire, no Chris, and I'm absolutely fine with that. So see you guys next time, for real, this time later.